All right, man. For all things Pelicans, man, y'all tuned into the Pelican Postgame Report. Much love. Appreciate y'all being in the stream. Y'all feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. By all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. We in here representing the Flocking Nation, man. PPR in the morning. Good to see y'all, man. Big ups to everybody. Michael, I see you, fam. GH15. Good to see you, Jordan. Much love. YBG Don. Good to see you. You dig. Good to see you, fam. Much love. Michael de Blasio. What's happening, Michael? How you doing, sir? All right, Charles. How you doing, fam? Appreciate the Flocking Nation. We're up in this thing. Now, of course, we know the Pelicans, man, had a disastrous G League situation, man, where we kind of watched them kind of stank it up in the G League, but it was more about certain players, right? You know, we would like, I said G League, the Summer League. Kind of confusing because really it's most of the same players going to be there. So the Summer League, and we watched the 0-4 Summer League happen, and we was like, man, it would have been nice to get a win, but you could see what the Pelicans were trying to do. They were trying to get some reps for our center, Yves Misi, for Carlo Mekabic, as well as Jordan Hawkins, trying to get him familiar with certain aspects of a different game. We got peaks, some looks at Antonio Reeves, this year's second round draft pick. We've seen some of the other guys like Ford and others that tried to make moves and do some stuff. So, yeah, it was what it was, man. But in this matchup, we seen what happened with the Pelicans. And like I said, Yves Misi talked about him getting dunked on and everything. We kind of seen that thing, how that played out. But he says he's going to challenge a lot of shots. So, yeah, that's that Mutombo kind of, you can't have a conscience when when you challenge you. You're a shot blocker, you go for the ball, and sometimes you're going to get the worst of it. So, you got to have a short memory in that regard. But Yves was getting funky out there. You could see him moving. He definitely can move. Very active in the board, jumping, getting there. And does it make sense with the Pelicans? Now, we heard Doc Ock talk about them feeling positive about the roster. And of course, the Pelicans are going to go into the season with this roster. This is just what it is. But anyway, let's kind of go over some of this G League stuff, man. We're going to talk about this before we head into some of these other articles I got kind of tuned up for you. The Pelicans go down 0-4 in Summer League play, man. And that's a wrap on it. So anyway, a much better performance in some of the bigs. Yves, as you can see what he was doing in some of the highlight reels we had. He finished with 11 points in 30 minutes. They gave him a lot of minutes in the game. He was around there doing his thing, had 6 rebounds, a better rebounded performance. Their Ford played better. 16 points in 29 minutes of actual, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. I like Ford's game, but he's just not really he's not really a defensive guard. I mean, he facilitates well, and he has a decent shot. He was 3 of 5 in this game. But what's really interesting is the fact that, he don't move his feet fast enough to play defense, which he could be a liability. But I do like his hustle and his mentality. And then, of course, he led everybody with 16 points, 13 from Jordan Hawkins in 30 minutes, 4 of 13 from the field. Didn't do all that well in shooting the rock, to be quite honest with you. But, like I said, it is Summer League. 12 from Reeves, the second round draft pick. A lot better shooting performance from downtown by him. 3 of 6 from the field, 3 of 5 from downtown. And he was 3 or 4 from the foul line, finished with 12 points. But the plus and minus was really off of this game, obviously. But, it is what it is. And, of course, off the bench, we did see performances by Brooks, who got an opportunity to play, finished with 9 points. He didn't hit a 3, was 3 of 8 from the field, 0 of 3 from downtown, and 3 for 3 from the foul line. 7 from Brockington, who struggled mightily in the Summer League. I like Brockington. I like his athleticism, but he didn't look too good in this rendition this time around. We actually had an opportunity to see Josh Adoro get out there for 13 minutes. Finally, in the last game of Summer League, he finished with 4 points and 5 boards. But in the end, the Pelicans marched off to a 0-4, very forgettable Summer League performance. So, we knew what this was about. It was basically to get some of these guys reps, because it appears that Yves might be the guy the Pelicans march into the regular season with. And the thing about, and of course, we have different guys. We got Tice, we have Karlo Mekavic, and Mekavic offensively is further along than Yves because of his opportunities in Europe. But like I said, if the Pelicans are feeling really calm and cool about their bigs, that's what the Octopus said. Octopus says that they like their young people, they like their center position. They added Daniel Tice. I don't think Tice will be a big starter in terms of that, because what he played in over the last 2 years, he started like 2 games or something like that over the last 2 years, 4 games, something like that. It wasn't a lot of starter experience. Even though he's a reserve big, that's what Daniel Tice brings you. Karlo Mekavic, like I said, is going to be a factor in that lineup. But with the first round draft pick placed upon Yves, you got to look at it and said he's the man. He looked really good, man. He looked really good against the Grizzlies the other night. He really did. He was hustling. They gave him a lot of minutes. He was moving. He was shot blocking. He was very active. He was doing his thing. And I was very impressed with Yves' performance against the Grizzlies. But all the Pelicans, and they are forced to buy into what Griffin is saying, because the trade that would have sent BI somewhere would have brought back what they believe would have been a starting level big. That didn't materialize. So now we got to believe in these guys. We have to think that these guys will help. So it is what it is in that front. But anyway, let's kind of look at some stuff I got keyed up right here. It's kind of looking at is 2 different views from reporters about the Pelicans, right? This is one right here from Yardbarker that kind of talks about the New Orleans Pelicans' current roster looks strong and ready for a deep run. This is Stephen Liu from USA Today Sports. And this was originally posted on Fadeaway World. So if that's worth anything, Pelicans' current roster looks strong and ready for a deep run. The Pelicans are gearing up for a 24-25 NBA season with a roster overhaul aimed at breaking their playoff drought. The biggest splash came with the acquisition of DeJounte Murray from the Hawks in exchange for Dyson, Larry Nance, and 2 first-round draft picks, along with Cody Zeller and EJ Liddell. We can't forget them guys. A former All-Star is expected to bring much-needed playmaking and defensive prowess to the Pelicans' backcourt, enhancing their offensive and defensive schemes. In addition to Murray, the Pelicans retained their core players, including Zion Williamson, CJ McCollum, and Brandon Ingram. Although Ingram's future remains somewhat uncertain amid ongoing contract negotiations, the team also made strategic picks in the draft, selecting promising talents to bolster their depth. These moves reflect a clear strategy surrounding their star players with the necessary support to compete at a high level in the Western Conference. Now, these are some of their little breakdown about the Pelicans players. From the point guard standpoint, DeJounte Murray and Jose Alvarado. The addition of Murray has been highlighted the Pelicans offseason, acquired from the Hawks. Murray brings elite playmaking, defensive skills, and leadership to New Orleans. Last season, he averaged 22.5 points, 6.4 assists, and 5.3 rebounds per game, showcasing his ability to contribute across the board. His presence is expected to elevate the team's backcourt, providing much-needed support for their offensive and defensive strategies. Jose Alvarado, known for his tenacity and defensive prowess, continues to be a key part of the Pelicans lineup. In 23-24, Alvarado averaged 9 points a game, 3 assists in the steal and a half per contest. His energy and ability to disrupt opposing offenses make him a valuable asset off the bench. With Murray and Alvarado, the Pelicans have a dynamic, versatile duo at the point guard position, capable of controlling the game's tempo and providing constant defensive pressure. This combination of Murray all-around game and Alvarado's defensive intensity positions the Pelicans' backcourt to be the most formidable in the league, setting the stage for a potential deep run. Now, listen, even though I do like what the writer is saying, because he's not really saying, hey, man, DeJounte Murray, because it's obviously starting and then the bench, the bench guys. Jose Alvarado in the final year of his agreement. A lot of people believe Jose Alvarado is going to eventually leave, just like Najee Marshall did. So, but having DeJounte Murray here for a good time window and taking advantage of Jose Alvarado while we still have him as a backup point guard will be a very important thing, because Jose has that energy, that defensive energy off the bench. He's a bulldog, a pit bull on defense. He's highly injured, and his offensive game has improved. If you watch some of the stuff when his Puerto Rican play, you can really see that Jose Alvarado's overall game is pretty damn good. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Jose, because Jose has gotten better. You can see what he did, and having those guys there, I love the guards. Now, of course, if you go shooting guards, he talks about Jordan Hawkins and CJ McCollum. A lot of people are not too keen on CJ, but CJ can't shoot the 3-point ball. Off ball, CJ is more where we're aiming at right now, because the Pelicans really are going to be kind of stuck with both CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram, at least up to the trade deadline. Now, we still see a couple of trades had occurred, lesser trades with Zaire Williams being traded to the Brooklyn Nets. We all seen that trade happen the other day. So it's still, trades are happening. But in terms of the Pelicans, David Griffin himself was said to be trying to control the trade of Brandon Ingram. And he talked about it a few days ago. We covered it. Him saying that they didn't really have an interest in trading Brandon Ingram, despite the fact that they don't have an interest in paying Brandon Ingram what he wants. So this is a huge gamble, by the way. This is a huge gamble by David Griffin with the Brandon Ingram thing, because we'll see how it all looks, because Brandon Ingram just going to play his contract out and just go into free agency. I mean, that's only, that's nothing really to kind of go over about that. Okay, if you're not going to pay me, I'm making what, $36 million or whatever it is. That's fine. I'll just make my 36 this year. And then when the time comes, I'll just go into free agency and get the 45, 50 million out. Well, 45, 50 or whatever the market stipulates, I'll get. So it is what it is. It's not complicated. It's just what it is, right? All right, so anyway, on the next one, McCollum continues to be a vital part of the Pelicans offseason. Last season, McCollum averaged almost 21 points a contest with 4.4 assists, 4 rebounds per game, while shooting almost 44% from the field and 38% from downtown. His ability to create his own shot and score efficiently from all areas of the court makes him a crucial asset for the Pelicans. McCollum's veteran presence in scoring will be key in leading the Pelicans backcourt along with DeJounte Murray. Now, a lot of people don't want to see CJ McCollum in the backcourt, the starting backcourt, which should be DeJounte Murray and Herb Jones. Now, DeJounte, we've seen his scoring 22 and a half a game. Herb Jones is a true 3 and D guy. He used to be just a defensive guy. You could leave Herb alone and double down on another guy, and Herb is standing. He's at the 3-point line up at, and he'll take the shot, miss the shot. That's old Herb. This new Herb, this 3 and D guy, he hits those threes confidently. So you got to respect this game. So the big part of the spacing and everything that they talk about, like the shooters and having all of these shooters around Zion, because he's a weapon that you can't stop. There is no legitimate matchup for Zion Williamson unless you send a bunch of people at him to try to crowd him, and then he slickly passed the ball out to one of his shooters. Herb can be in the starting lineup and should be in the starting lineup because of his defense and what he did last year from a defensive standpoint. And I'm looking forward to seeing the Pelicans backcourt of DeJounte Murray and Herb Jones, man, playing. And that, it kind of, dare I say, shades of Drew Holiday and Derek White. Now, listen, by far, that's probably the top. Right now, you got to say that's probably the top backcourt in the NBA with Drew Holiday, or either one or two, depending on, what you're looking at. I think it's probably the top. But what the Pelicans could do potentially with DeJounte Murray and Herb Jones as a backcourt, man, you got to, at some point, that should be like a top 5 backcourt in the entire league, not just the West, but the entire league. Really excited about that. But the CJ McCollum thing, not in the starting lineup for CJ, I think off the bench. That's what make the Pelicans lineup, like a lot of people saying, okay, yeah, you're keeping Brandon Ingram for the season. And what it does do is even though like people like myself, I'm like, man, we can't, whatever. If it is what it is, we got to deal with it. And Trey Murphy comes off the bench for another year. You got Trey off the bench. You have CJ off the bench. You got Jose off the bench. You got who else I'm missing? You got Jordan Hawkins off the bench, depending on if he can get minutes, because it's how do you fit Jordan Hawkins if you're playing Jose Alvarado and CJ McCollum? How does Jordan Hawkins get minutes with Trey there, with Jeremiah Robinson Earl there, where with the bigs that'll be playing Makovic, then Reeves probably being somewhere in there, probably toward the back of the rotation. You still have Jamal Cain, who we picked up as a two-way player. What could he offer? See, so there's a few things Willie Green has to figure it out, because this team it's just different, especially with the bench. The second line, you gotta have that second line could score. They got grittiness with Jose. They got shooting with CJ and Trey and Jordan. They got bigs that play defense, whether it's Daniel Tice, Carlo Mekovic, or Yves. I think Yves is going to probably end up starting. But you do have guys, bigs that can hustle, there. So it's up to Willie Green to kind of figure out a stable bench rotation to help the Pelicans out. But there's a lot of scoring off that bench. It's a lot of scoring off that bench, man. A lot of scoring. Anyway, let's get back. Jordan Hawkins enters his second season showing promise as a reliable shooting guard. Last season, he averaged 7.6 points a game, 2 rebounds, shot almost 40% from the field, and almost 37% from downtown. That's absolutely amazing. If you're a three-point sniper, this is what this guy is in Jordan Hawkins. What he did for the Pelicans before basically Willie Green just took him off the court and started playing other guys that played defense. And they took Jordan and said, well, his defense has to improve, while CJ McCollum running around out there and doing basically the same thing. Money talk, bullshit walks. But that's the thing. Calling the man Baby Ray Allen, and Willie Green deserves a lot of criticism for the type of stuff he says, because people listen. You can't call a man Baby Ray Allen, which is basically calling him Jesus Shuttlesworth Jr., the son of Ray Allen, and not play Jesus Shuttleworth Jr. in these games, especially when you need a spark late in the season, like we were losing these games to the Lakers, and then you get into the play-in, kind of mess around there. You get to the playoffs, and you don't really utilize the guy. You play him like 4 minutes on his birthday. That's real comical. So he deserves credit. I mean, not credit, but he deserves blame rather for that. You can't do that if you got a shooter like him that's shooting 39%, almost 37% from the field. And in many ways, like last year, the kid was in line for a lot of rookie honors until Willie just took him off the court. Just doing crazy stuff. Just took him up off there. Well, with McCollum's scoring ability and Hawkins shooting, the Pelicans have a strong and versatile duo at shooting guard position, ready to contribute to their playoff ambitions in 2024. Then as we continue to get down into it, the forwards, small forwards as he terms them, Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, and then the power forwards, which of Zion, Trey Murphy, and Jeremiah Robinson Earl. B.I. remains a crucial component of the Pelicans lineup, averaged almost 21 points a game, 5 boards, and 6 assists while shooting 49%. And 35.5% from downtown. So B.I. was, had that injury situation, came back for the plan, still was banged up. We know it takes anywhere between 8 to 10 games before you see Brandon Ingram be himself. Look it up. This is something real. That's inside game for you. It takes 8 to 10 games. If he's coming back from injuries, it takes him 8 to 10 games to look like the B.I. that we like, that we love. Herb Jones continues to be a key defensive presence for the Pelicans, known for his tenacity and ability to guard multiple positions. Jones averaged almost 10 points per game, 4 rebounds, and 2.3 on assists. His defensive skills and his improved offensive game make him a valuable two-way player. Jones' ability to disrupt opposing offenses and contribute on the scoring end will be vital to the Pelicans' success. Big Zion is the cornerstone of the Pelicans' front court. He averaged almost 23 points per game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, showcasing his dominant presence. Ability to score efficiently and facilitate for teammates is crucial for the Pelicans' success. Wyatt Williamson's health and consistency will be key factors as the team looks to make a deep playoff run this season. The biggest sticking point, even though we talk about the inability of the Octopus to trade Brandon Ingram for a better piece to fit, as they say, along with Zion Williamson, is Zion Williamson's health itself. That is something that we cannot get around as Flock and family members. We have to understand that Zion Williamson has to, at some point, play a full season of NBA basketball, or at least is available when we need him the most. Meaning, when the playoffs hit, we need Zion in the playoffs. It is very crazy that he had this fantastic season last year and then gets hurt in the play-in and then misses the entire playoffs. That is ridiculous, man. So that has to change. Now, how does that change? That's up to Amy Admore. That's up to the health staff. They have to figure out a way to be able to make sure Zion Williamson plays the majority of the season, right? And then be available in games like if they're fortunate to get back to the playoffs. We can't get around that. That's why BI, to a degree, we talk about what happened with Brandon Ingram and everything that happened with him and how he feels. I don't know if it's going to say entitled to the $50 million, because obviously he feels like, hey, man, I've led this team more than Zion did. Listen, don't forget, just because I struggled in, it coming off from injury, because I was coming off an injury with a team, don't forget, since I've been here, I've been out there more than Zion. So that's why he feels that he should, that he was the top option. So it's like, if you think about it, because you got to remember, these athletes have egos, man. Everybody got an ego. But when you're a professional athlete or an entertainer or a person like that, you always got people running up to you and they pump their heads up, tell them all the stuff. Oh, you're the greatest. You're this, that, and the third. And a lot of times, if you're not sound in your thinking, you let that get to you. That's why a lot of these people got big personalities, big old heads, and stuff like that, because people throwing that at them all the time. So if he feels, because he was actually there in a lot of that time that Zion missed a lot of time with the Pelicans, but BI was there. BI was there in option one and contributed. And to a degree, you got to see that Brandon Ingram says, hey, man, don't forget that. You're looking at it from last year's standpoint, but what about all the rest of them years? Don't I deserve that? People's like, nah. And he says, nah, I do. So, I mean, you got to think about that, man. Then you expecting him to fall back into the range. You led the team for all that time. And then the guy that they're not admitting is the option one, because they many times would kind of draw back about admitting to options. You'd be like, why would they do that? Because they didn't want to heap a lot of that on a player that can't prove that he can stay healthy. You see? So if you got one guy there and the other guy isn't, what you going to do? You got to play through who you have. And then what the man's supposed to do? Okay, fall back when the other guy comes back, then gets hurt, then goes back and no. His mentality is, I'm going to lead this team. And that's what he did. That's why he feels the way he does. And, I get it to a degree. I really do. All right. Anyway, let's keep it going. Trey Murphy III continues to develop as a versatile forward for the Pelicans, known for shooting and defensive capabilities. Murphy averaged 14.5, 3.6 on the rebounds. His ability to stretch the floor with shooting makes him an ideal complement for Williamson on the front court. Absolutely. Shooters around the gravity. The guy with the gravity. Shooters around Zion. Very simple strategy, right, fam? Zion, feed Zion inside. Zion one-on-one is barbecue city for anybody. You can't guard him one-on-one. They have to collapse. When they do collapse on Zion, ball goes out to Trey, ball goes out to Murray, ball goes out to Herb, ball goes out to BI, wide open jump shot, gotta knock it down. Gotta knock it down. Gotta knock it down. So that's the mentality the Pelicans are playing with. That's the space that they talk about. The space and pace, how fast they play, and the fact that you use Zion Williamson's gravity to implode those defenses and create wide open shot opportunities for your 3-point shooters, Trey Murphy, Jordan Hawkins, CJ McCollum. You got quite a few of them, right? All right. Then Jeremiah Robinson Earl, as I affectionately call him, Uncle Jeremiah Robinson Earl, because that's an old school country ass name. I thought this guy was from deep south somewhere with a name like Jeremiah Robinson Earl. That's like Uncle Jeremiah Robinson. That's Uncle Robinson Earl. That's an old school, deep country ass name. And he joined the Pelicans in 23-24, adds depth to the power forward position, averaged 3 points and 2 boards in limited minutes. This guy could play. Despite those comical numbers right there, we know Jeremiah Robinson Earl has an offensive game. He's a hustler, really good player. And we'll see. And this is who a lot of people believe will become the Larry Nance. We talk about this with Willie Green, man. As I finish up with the centers, the bigs, a lot of people talk about Willie Green as, he's not going to change. And I'm like, no, he got to change. He doesn't see. This is the reality. He's going to change. Why? Because the bottom line is this: the people that he was over relying on are gone. He over relied on Larry Nance to a fault. He really did. Larry Nance was the answer for all things in his mind in terms of who the center position was. He overgave him. He would give after Larry came off for injury. It wasn't even 100. He was still loading that guy up with minutes. I'm like, what are you doing? He over relied on guys. Larry Nance, Dyson at sometimes at the wrong time. Those guys are gone. They're gone. So there is no more over relying on these type of players. You got to develop your coaching acumen now. And like I said, Willie Green is in his 4th year as a NBA head coach. You got to see the light go on. You got to improve the rotations. You got to feel your feel for the game. And if you don't have the natural instincts for the game, have a coach next to you that does have it, and allow him the ability to kind of, get there and kind of, give you the game, like kind of, hey, coach, I think, let that happen. I think that's Borrego. If it's James Borrego, he needs to listen to James Borrego a lot more in the scheme. And I know Willie Green is a defensive-minded person, but a lot of the defensive people you're relying on are gone. So you have to shift your focus now. And guys have to play, and you have to make it make sense. This is the 4th year. He has to make it right. He has to also have a jump. Ain't no shaking around that. Willie Green has to improve as the head coach of the New Orleans Pelicans. A lot of pressure is fixated on Willie Green. I could see why he was sitting up there uncomfortable, looking constipated at that press conference with DeJounte Murray. And DeJounte Murray checks him and says, it will not be such and such, which is good. We need that because Willie and DeJounte have to be on the same page for the Pelicans to have success. And that's why I said that Willie will improve, because a lot of the game, how DeJounte sees it, it comes from one of the greatest, which is Pop. And Popovich's game is, Willie can't dispute that. So he's going to get the game from DeJounte. They'll work together. And I think that will improve how he sees the game. He will rely on DeJounte Murray in game situations and feel of the game type of things. It's up to Willie. One of the biggest components to improvement of Willie's game is he has to be faster with these rotations, better, feeling instinctually. And he also, he got to make, if you see something going wrong, you got to hit that timeout. You can't sit up there with your fingers, with your hand, your arms crossed. You can't do that. And I think a lot of that is going to be better because you have a higher basketball IQ on the court. Remember, the Pelicans haven't had a lead guard of his caliber of a DeJounte Murray character. Last really, really good point guard we have, if you go past Lonzo Ball, who was a young, promising point guard that we picked up in the trade that couldn't stay healthy. But prior to that, the last one we had that was a really good guard, man, you got to go back a ways. The Pelicans have been void of a floor general since Rondo. I want to say since Rajon Rondo. That's the last time. And prior to that, it was Chris Paul. Then Baron Davis, when we had him down here for a little bit. But like I said, man, we haven't had that serious point guard since Rondo. Lonzo did some positives. I like Lonzo. They just never was healthy. So having DeJounte Murray here, think about that, what I just said. a lead guard is, since Rajon Rondo. That's crazy, man. That we went all that time playing basketball by committee. That's crazy. Absolutely insane. It's insane. But anyway, it's different now. So going back to the bigs, Tice, Yves Missi. Tice is a seasoned veteran, joined the Pelicans this offseason. Last season, he averaged 6.3 points per contest, 4 boards, and a block per game. He shot 53% from the field, and even had, I didn't know that, almost 37% from the 3-point line. How about Daniel Tice shooting out? And I have to look up and see what's his rate of shooting the 3-point ball, though. But they saying he averaged like almost 37% shooting the ball from downtown. How about that? His experience and defense abilities add some value to the depth court. He's a veteran with hustle ability, moves pretty decently for a guy. Now, some say he's 6'8". I've seen some 6'9", 6'10", but I think he's more 6'9", 250, solid person, can run the floor. Defensively, he's smart. He won't get hung up on these. Like me and DC was talking about this, about Tice, and how Tice he'll be the anti Jonas Valanciunas. You know how when how Vala pick, he'll pick the opposing player, and then the guy will run into him, and then the referee throws in, calls him for the foul. That's none of that's going on with Daniel Tice. That's not going to happen with Daniel Tice. He's pretty smooth and slick with it, and I think that will be a difference maker. And then, of course, Yves Missi, promising young talent. I love what I've seen from Missi in that last summer league game, with him attacking the basket, shot blocking, running the floor, double jumps, getting up, he looked, they said that the kid's a fast learner. So I think the Pelicans could be kind of betting on that. Now, if you're looking at all of the players, if you got if you got DeJounte, you got Herb, you got Zion, you got Ingram, you got those guys. So you got Ingram, Zion, and DeJounte. Those are all 20-point scorers in the starting lineup. You got Herb there, who averaged about 10 a game last year, who could improve and will improve this upcoming season. That possibly can give you 13, 14 points a game from Herb along with those guys. And then because he'll have opportunities to shoot the ball. Herb is going to have a lot of wide open opportunities about, hitting the shots. Not only that, but just attacking him, getting the turnovers and heading up the court, doing stuff like that. Can Yves Missi fit in that? Did he do enough to say, hey, man, let's give him a shot on some Derek Lively type stuff? Did he do enough? We'll see. Can the Pelicans, and then this is the big question, can the Pelicans make a deep run this time? Can they do it? Pelicans are poised for a potential deep playoff run this year, thanks to a series of moves and key player developments. The acquisition of Murray and the Hawks add a dynamic playmaker and elite defender to the backcourt, significantly boosting both offense and defensive side of the ball. McCollum creates formidable backcourt duo that control the tempo, playing off ball. Even when we say him off the bench, even if you have CJ McCollum off the bench, I still want CJ off the bench and off the ball. But regardless, I don't want him to lead guard off the bench, even though he'll be the sixth man. I still want him off the ball, off the bench. You get what I'm saying? Because regardless or not, the ball still has to circulate on the second team. We have Trey, we have all these other guys. We still need somebody off the bench, the steel floor general off the bench, to keep CJ off the ball. He's supposed to be off the ball all the time. We can't let CJ be the key ball handler off the bench, because what's going to happen is guys are not going to get any shots, because he's going to go down and jack the damn thing up. That's what he does. Guys ain't even across the half court line, and he got the damn ball jacked up already. And then no, we can't have that, man. We got to protect him from his own vices, so to speak. All right. So anyway, it says, let's see, where was I? McCollum creates a formidable backcourt duo that control the tempo and score efficiently. Zion, if he can stay healthy, remains the cornerstone of the team. His ability to dominate inside, facilitate for teammates is crucial for the Pelicans' success. Pairing him with emerging stars like Trey Murphy III provides the team with a versatile and potent offensive front court. The return of players like B.I. and the addition of defensive stalwart Herb Jones adds stability and experience. Ingram's scoring and playmaking combined with Jones' defensive prowess give the Pelicans a well-rounded wing rotation capable of handling various matchups in the playoffs. And with the blend of star power, depth, and improved defensive capabilities, the Pelicans assemble a team that is not capable of reaching that is not only capable of reaching the playoffs, but also making a deep playoff run. If key players stay healthy and the team chemistry continues to build, New Orleans could be formidable contender in the postseason. Now, this is interesting because the Pelicans is the ultimate, boom or bust team. They're the ultimate because it's all based on Zion Williamson, a player that hasn't been able to stay healthy. If Zion if we lose him at certain intervals of the season, it's just people are living with the life that, hey, Q, the kid's just gonna get hurt. So in some perspectives, a lot of people are like, man, I don't think he'll ever have a season where he just go through the entire season without missing a game. I haven't seen it. You guys haven't seen it. I would love to see it though. But how do we get there? We know that the medical staff have to do everything it can to protect, to make sure this, that, and the third, he's conditioned properly. And from what, remember Willie Green talked about Zion's condition, say he looks good. He's been working in all season. Remember, he was hurt and missed the playoffs. So there was an update saying that he's healthy, which everybody, when you get close to the season, that's the first and biggest question that people are going to come out and say is, where is Zion Williamson? Is he healthy? And that seemed to be the damn question every year. So now that the team is really focused and centered around Zion Williamson, and we have the shooters, we have some of these players here, how does it look? And that's the biggest sticking point. Can Zion Williamson be healthy when we need him? Because without him, the Pelicans they're not going to do a damn thing. I mean, they'll win some games, but they'll be capped out as far as how they can go, how high they can go without Zion Williamson. To get where you want to really be a team that plays for much more, Zion has to be available. He has to be available. So the health staff is a big part of the plan. Zion is a big part of the plan to make sure he continues to eat well and work out well and do what the people say he's supposed to do. And the third part of it is Willie Green. Willie Green has to be able to assemble a second string staff or a second line staff that makes sure that Zion gets the proper amount of minutes and that he's not overused. You get what I'm saying? That he's not abused in terms of his minutes, that he gets his minutes, but Willie has a good bench rotation that he circles guys in and out. And that's not just Zion, that's everybody. That's what the purpose of the depth chart is. We don't need to go 8 guys. And just because he can't handle rotations right, you're going to have to dig deep and put together a 9. When you got Zion Williamson, you need to have a 9 to 10 player alignment. You get what I'm saying? It's just common sense. So at some point, we got to see that. Those 3 things, the health staff working with him, Zion doing what he's supposed to do, and in agreement with the health staff, in relation with the health staff, and then Willie Green making sure he puts a decent second line that has 9 to 10 guy rotation every night to make sure that you don't overuse Zion or BI or any of these guys, and make sure everybody get their right amount of minutes. Because we have once again, we're fortunate to have a deep second line. So, all right. So that's one good article, fam, that kind of gave some love to the Pelicans. They're like, yeah, man, the Pelicans doing this one. Now, this one, not so much, right? Let's look at this one, fam, and then we'll kind of move forward. 5 NBA rosters that make no sense. This is Grant Hughes from Bleacher Report. And this is what he's saying about this. He says, as the dust settles on the 24 NBA free agency, some seemingly unfinished and confusing rosters remain. The too little talent at one position, too much at another. Teardowns only have completed enough in each case to make you wonder, wait, are they really done here? It's not easy to come out of July with a team that looks fully ready to hit the ground running. That's my favorite saying. There's always a test phase in the early season, a filling out period in which coaches get a chance to see how theoretically player groupings look in practice. But when the team's here, it's particularly difficult to overlook the deficiencies and imbalances. Forget about how things might go in practice. Even the theories of how these teams will function, from their rotations on the floor to their broader organizational directions, are tough to grasp. For their sake, let's hope the off-season work isn't over. And then he goes through different people, the Chicago Bulls. Yeah, and you gotta kind of look at it and say the Chicago Bulls, a lot of people picked them for having the worst offseason. What are they doing? That's the talking point. They've been trying to get rid of Zach LaVine with no takers, offering 2 second-round picks. One time they said they was offering a first-round pick, no takers. DeMar DeRozan trade, what are they doing, right? They traded Caruso for Josh P. Giddey, and we just keep it rolling, right? So I'm glad I'm not a Chicago person, that's for sure. All right, Golden State was another team that he mentioned as a head scratchers. And then ultimately, bringing in the third place is our New Orleans Pelicans with BI, as you can see the picture there. If the New Orleans Pelicans roster seems like it's missing something, there's a good reason for that. With only Daniel Tice and the number 21st pick, Yves Missi at center, Brandon Ingram's future very much up in the air. New Orleans is one of the most obviously unfinished personnel groups in the league. That's why deals sending Ingram to Cleveland for Jared Allen continue to have cachet and fake trade economy. Ingram might not be the ideal 3 between the Cavs' 2 small backcourt of Mitchell and Darius Garland, but the 2 big front of Mobley and Jared Allen, because he's best with the ball in his hands and isn't equipped to wrangle tough wings on D, but he doesn't seem likely to be a long timer with the Pelicans. Whether it's for Allen or some other big, Ingram's, whose contract is currently set to expire after next season, is one of the most logical trade candidates around. Herb Jones, Trey Murphy III are better support pieces next to Zion Williamson, who functions best as the primarily ball handler with 3 and D spaces around him. Jones and Murphy attempted more threes per 36 minutes than Ingram last year, and both were more accurate from deep as well. Murray on board as a secondary ball handler. If he returns to form, third high-end defensive piece around Zion's. Ingram's best attributes, individual shot creation and mid-range sniping, are worse fits than ever. That's what he's saying about DeJounte Murray. The Pels are a more talented team with Murray in the fold, and even if they lost Valanciunas, Larry Nance, Dyson Daniels, and Najee Marshall in early July, but they're also imbalanced and clearly a trade away from shorting things out. So, what do you guys think about what he's saying here? He hits on some good points. Now, although I don't know that, I know Zion Williamson using point Zion. They'll do that, but I don't think DeJounte Murray will be the second ball handler. I think he's brought in to be the primary ball handler to set the table between these guys. And then at certain intervals of the game, they allow Zion Williamson to go into point Zion. I don't think they abandon that because it works well. But I don't think Zion will be the key ball handler. You want DeJounte Murray, who's more experienced in that role, who has those instincts as a floor general, who can set everything up. You want him operating that way. Then when the time comes, we'll roll Zion in there to do his thing. I think that'll be more consistent. Besides, when we seen that happen last year, when the Pelicans had success with Zion Williamson operating as the ball handler, they didn't consistently go to it. Like, they'll have a game where they would dominate, and then the next game they'll go back to whatever. That was like, what's going on here? After Willie Green said that, yeah, we're going to keep doing such and such, we like Zion Williamson with the ball handler. The next game they'll go into it and they'll be like having somebody else handling the ball and Zion to be standing on the wing. I'm like, what's going on here? Why are you guys not consistent in what works? It just didn't make any sense, man. It didn't make any sense. And that's really all on Willie Green. The consistency of the mindset, that's up for him to be controlled. And for him to go away from something that works at time was very baffling. That's why I would say Willie Green, unless I like Willie Green, but Willie Green has to improve his philosophy. Ain't no way around that, man. There's no way around that. Zion Williamson remaining healthy, and Willie Green has to become a better basketball coach. And pressure's on. The pressure's on Willie Green to figure it out, man. You don't have all these other people he can rely on. You don't have Larry Nance to run out. Hey, Larry, go out there and play 25 minutes. No, man, you got to find somebody else. You better start doing it right, because I'm telling you, if you can't allow for slippage. Like, you have 49 wins last year. Shout out to y'all guys, man, for being here. I got a poll in the chat right now that's asking the question about, are the Pelicans going to improve on their win total in 24-25? And people, 73%, shout out to you guys, 73% says yes. Now, what I should have did was asked you. Now, when I mean improve on their win total, the Pelicans won 49 games last year. That's what I'm saying. The Pelicans won 49 games last year. Do the Pelicans win 50 or more games this upcoming season is the question. That's the question. Can they do it? And for them to do it, you got to have a bunch of stuff that works in their favor. Like the Pelicans talently, from a talent standpoint, last year just ran over certain teams, ran them over, blew them out. We seen all kind of blowouts. Now they caught a flat tire toward the back end of the year when you start seeing them lose to San Antonio. You see what I'm saying? They lost to the Lakers at the end of the season, then lost to the Lakers again in the play-in, and then got Sacramento, a team that they dominated. I wonder if we had gotten anybody else, would the Pelicans be able to beat Sacramento? We were very fortunate to get Sacramento in the playoff. We just had a mental domination over Sacramento, man. Anytime you beat a team through the year and then you just flush them on out, and you got them mentally dominated. So if any other team but them, I wonder if we would have had that, because that was the lone bright spot between us losing to the Lakers twice, end of the season, then the plan, then beating Sacramento, getting OKC, and then just getting washed out of that by OKC. The lone bright spot in that series was Sacramento. So, but that's what I'm saying. It's a lot because Zion has to be healthy, in which we hadn't seen him play a whole season yet. Not saying that he can't, but if a lot of times early on, he wasn't taking it serious. Remember, he got on Gilbert Arenas' platform and talked about him, being, having money and having all this food down, having all this food. And I guess you're a youngster, you like food, and you in New Orleans. And listen, let me tell you something. You'd be bigger than the Superdome if you can't control yourself. We don't need him coming out there looking like Sean Kemp. The worst thing happened to Sean, if y'all remember Sean Kemp, the great Seattle Supersonic forward, Sean Kemp. But prior to what happened? The NBA had a contract dispute, right? The NBA had a contract dispute where they wasn't playing basketball, right? And then the next year, when the dispute was over with, Sean Kemp came back and he looked like Shaquille O'Neal. I'm like, who the F is this guy? He had a 1-inch vertical. This was the dude. This was the Rain Man. So he looked like you could have put Smoothie King stripes on his ass and misinterpret him for being the Smoothie King center. You can't, you're in a fantastic. Listen, I'm from here. I'm from New Orleans, born and raised, right? And I'm gonna tell you straight up and down, baby, that the food, and it's not just the food, but it's the people, that environment. Like not only you getting something good to eat, but you got music going while you being entertained and stuff like that. We got a lot snapping and popping down here. So if you're not disciplined in your approach and kind of staying away and backing away from that goddamn table, you blow up bigger than the Superdome down here. You gotta watch it, baby. You gotta watch it. It's a lot of stuff down here that'll swallow you up. I'm just telling you. You get a turkey neck, and then a second neck, and the third neck. And then next thing you know, you're in the hospital, so you got to watch yourself, baby. You got to proportion yourself. You see? But I have to give Zion win, because early on, that's what he was doing. He was having good fun. He was eating. He was doing all the stuff, he was eating and doing all that. But in the end, right now, it's been a change. He's matured some. He had the baby, and him and his girl and everybody, they're good. So now he's focusing on, after he got the big money contract, he's focusing on keeping himself together. And you're seeing more of a professional version of Zion Williamson. As before, he was, I don't know if you could say from a physique and training standpoint that he wasn't locked in like he was supposed to, and he wasn't. But now he is. So that might contribute to us seeing Zion play a full season, or perhaps close to a full season. You see what I'm saying? I'm saying possibly. We haven't seen it, but I'm really hoping that we can, because that's when the success comes. Or at least if something happens, you would kind of say, hopefully it happens at a certain interval of time where we will be able to get them and have them for when we really need them, which is the playoff push. So it's all very, interesting to see how it goes. But that's the purpose of having deep teams that can absorb as much injury as they can, and also be able to play guys at certain minutes to prevent them from being hurt. You see, some games you get more minutes than others, but in a balanced approach, you have the bench that second line that kind of makes sure guys get a certain amount of minutes so that they capped at a certain bit. And then you have guys doing what they're supposed to do. But if you, like I said, if you look at what the Pelicans, how they constructed, and a lot of people are not happy about them not moving Brandon Ingram. And I'm one of the people, I'm like, man, it kind of puts a cloud over the team of uncertainty that we're playing over. And I don't like that because it could potentially be used as a deterrent. It could be used as a distraction mechanism. You see what I'm saying? So it's interesting, man. We'll see how it goes moving forward, man. All right. So anyway, shout out to you guys, man. I know that first article right there was giving the Pelicans some love. This one, not so much, saying it's a confusing roster because it has the feel of being incomplete. Man, ain't lying, man. It is now being complete simply because Doc Ock is saying, hey, man, we gonna be looking forward to playing small and fast. I'm like, what? What are you talking about, Doc Ock? We got big guys in the West, man. What you talking about, man? We just talking about Zion Williamson playing the full season. We don't want to see him at the 5, brother. No, sir. We do not. We don't want to see him at the 5. We don't need to see none of that shit. All right. So, yeah, small and fast, man. Get the hell out of here, man. You better get that 7-footer center. You better get him ready to play some ball. That's what you better do. You better get Yeeves, and you better get Carlo, and you better get Daniel Tice, and you better get them guys ready to play some basketball in the Big Easy, man. The hell with all that other talking about. The octopus be just going crazy, don't he? All right, 504 Code says, Q, my 3 biggest concerns are the center position. If BI is not moved, will he create bad energy in the locker room? And has Willie reached his ceiling as a head coach? A 504 Code, those are very, very interesting concerns. And I think a lot of the majority of the flock believes in what you're saying. They're saying that too. They're like, man, I don't know. But that's because you got the octopus running around here and he's saying stuff. And I wish he would stop that because he kind of fans a lot of the flames. He fans a lot of these flames, right? Because really, if I want to hear about scheme and fit, I want to hear from the coach because the coach is the one that has the direct ability to be able to employ these people in a way that makes sense. Not the octopus, not him, not Doc Ock. And for people say Q is most people probably listen to shows that Q, who the hell is Doc Octopus? This is goddamn guy right here. You see, that's him. That's what I'm talking about. This guy. And the reason why he's called that is because he's a micromanager. He puts his goddamn hands and his opinions and everywhere where it don't belong when it's not warranted. We don't need to hear you about we looking forward to play fast and little. And no, we don't want to hear that. What's the purpose of drafting a 7-foot center that can run if you're talking about playing fast and the guy's a fast center? What are you talking about? See, that's what I'm saying. Just shut up and go somewhere. Stop talking and let somebody else talk. Let the general manager speak. I got a problem with them dudes, with a guy like him speaking more than the general manager and the coach. He's speaking more than the guys that actually are on the court, the ones that implement the philosophy. Just shut up and go somewhere. It's annoying. You're looking forward to paying space. And what he's doing is he's trying to create a narrative that he done everything he could do. But in essence, he blamed everything but his own stinking ass for why Brandon Ingram is still here. He blamed everything. He blamed the size of the market. Well, we can, and you can make mistakes. If you're no, you can't make mistakes in big markets. They got general managers and VPs get fired all the time for making poor decisions. It don't matter how big the market the team is in. You got to make the right decisions. You have to make the right decisions with the money. You got to. It don't matter. And this guy get a max and this guy get a max. And they got 3 players on the Pelicans team totaling over $100 million. I don't want to hear it. If you can't do it, take your ass out of here and let somebody else that know what they do come in here and fix the team. Go somewhere. That's the problem I got with the guy. We don't need to hear you all the time. Let's hear from the coach to put these guys on the floor. And you validate it because that's what I'm saying. When you hear playing small and fast and all this kind of rhetoric, it shoots in the face of what they're doing. It's a contradiction. And I don't think it just be prattling on thinking people are not going to dissect what you're saying because it contradicts the flows of what the team is doing. How can there be a super hot market for BI at the start of the trade cycle and then by the end of the cycle, the market's dead and everybody got traded that's similar to him? How does that work? And then toward the back end of the conversation, you contradict yourself again by saying that we really didn't want to trade him, which would explain why he's still here. But you don't want to trade him and you don't want to pay him. So what is he going to do? Play 1 year on this contract and then leave in free agency. And it's not, it don't take Poindexter. They don't take geniuses. They don't take Bill Gates. They don't take nobody with a high IQ to figure this stuff out, man. Come on. But yeah, the concerns of the center position, yeah, the first round draft grade goes to Yves Missi. Obviously, based on them loading him up with minutes in the summer league, they anticipate him being an option for that, for the 5 spot. And can that be the case? I don't think they have much of a choice. It can be Daniel Tice. He started 2 games and 4 games in 2 years. It can't be Tice. And Karlo Mekovic, his offensive game is further along than Yves, but Yves has the first round grade. You have to be right. You got to justify the first round pick, you would think, especially if you have a first round draft pick center at a position of need. You got to play the guy. And then they hyped him up and we like him a lot. We think we're confident and such and such. Well, that kind of lets you know what that's going to be. So there you go. Now, it's not ideal. It really isn't ideal. But this is the path in which Griffin has put the Pelicans on. I don't like the fact that I don't think BI is going to be a problem to the Pelicans because I don't think that's going to happen. I think Brandon Ingram is a professional. I think BI is going to play. He's still making $36 million this year, still a lot of bread. He'll play his 1 year and then go into that new CBA next year with all that elevated money and try to get as much money as he could next year. It is what it is, right? And this is the path the man set us on. But I don't think he creates bad energy in the locker room. I think he'll have fun with the Pelicans and then go get his money. And Willie Green reached his ceiling as a head coach. I don't know if he reached his ceiling as a head coach. It's just he's been head coaching for 4 years. This is his 4th year. And I think that would be a question, like if you a guy that been doing it for like 7 or 8 years as a head coach. But Willie Green is not a strategist. We know that. Willie Green's rotations are delayed. His timeouts are delayed at times. His questionable rotations at times of putting in defensive players when you need offensive sparks is very questionable at times. It's just, I don't know what is going on there. It's like, no, you need offense now, not defense. And now that the team has moved off the guys that he used to do that with, now it's more offense. Like, look at the team, like especially off the bench, it's more offensive driven than it is defense, right? Think about it. You have CJ McCollum has to come off the bench. That's a guy that should be all right coming off the bench. Jose Alvarado's getting better. Trey Murphy's getting better. So those are 3 guys right there, especially between CJ and Trey, that are offensive inclined, even though Trey is doing a lot more than just shooting a 3, right? Him coming off the bench. And then you're playing the second teamers, which should make Jose, CJ, Trey games like playing those second teamers. It should be they should be able to have an easier game as opposed to them going at the starters. Those are the backups, you would think. But that's up to Willie Green to figure it out. I don't know if he reached his ceiling as a head coach 504. I don't know if to say that because I still think Willie Green is his biggest flaw, in my opinion, is his stubbornness, is his inability to stick with what works. You see, because there were games last year the Pelicans lost simply because he made the wrong choice in the game. Like they were at an interval where the game was in reach or it was tied. And had he made the right decision to go more offensive, the Pelicans could have pushed past. But at times last year, he made a lot of questionable decisions that ultimately led the Pelicans into losses, especially on the back end of the last year when the Pelicans lost all kind of momentum. They just fell through the floor. They were the road warriors, and then they couldn't even win on the road. So, I mean, and then the IQ of knowing, like why were the Pelicans so good on the road last year? And then it's like, okay, where did you guys practice? It was common sense stuff. Like, where did they practice at? We practice in the building that we played the team that night. Well, won't you do that at home as opposed to practice on Airline Drive in the practice facility? Go down to the Smoothie King Center and practice down there to get familiar in your own building. Do that. They did that one time. and got a win. And then he went back to the practice facility. I don't understand, man. What you doing? You see what I'm saying? That has to improve, man. So he's not known as a strategist. People like Willie Green because he's a good dude. He's a faithful dude. In terms of his faith, he's big on that. He doesn't curse. I'm gonna call you up as opposed to call you out. That type of stuff. So Willie comes from the school of that. He doesn't get vexed that often. He controls himself. He don't get texts to inspire the team. That's not his philosophy. I'm not gonna, he even said that, he ain't gonna lose no money over it, which some people are like, what? But that's his stance. That's what it is. But that's something that Willie Green, you don't know, brother. You haven't earned the right to be stubborn, brother. You can't be stubborn in this stuff, man. And that's what I was saying about him improving it, because he has to. He'll stick out like a sore thumb if he doesn't improve, because DeJounte Murray is coming here, and DeJounte Murray is not gonna do no backward stuff. Just saying. Like, even in the press, and you seen it in the press conference. Like, I was looking at Willie saying, Willie looks uncomfortable. Why does he look so uncomfortable? Why? To me, I made the joke. I said, the man looked like he constipated up there. Then you seen DeJounte Murray say, it will not be difficult. It won't be hard, this type of stuff, because we know what this is. But Willie has to improve as a head coach, and he has to work with DeJounte Murray to improve as a team. I do not separate the coaches and the team. I don't separate. They're all on the same team. They're on the same team. Coaches and players, they both need each other to win. I don't separate them. So whatever progress Willie has with DeJounte Murray is progress for Willie and the entire team. That's how I look at it. I don't separate the people, All right. So big ups to the fam, man. That's my little talking points on it. Let me see if I can kind of reach out. Thank you for that follow. Yeah, those are big concerns, man. We all have. We don't know how that's going to look, man, but it's going to be something. We'll see. Sat says if BI balls out, he's still on the team. Murray, Jones, BI, Trey, and Z, 2 tall forwards to compensate height. Can't double. Thank you, bro. All right. What's up, Jessica? Good to see Jessica. What you doing, Jessica? You cleaning up this morning? I remember Jessica's. She said she was cleaning up and listening to PPR in the morning. All right. Shout out to you, Jessica. All right. Hey, Mike says Misa will be what we wanted from Jax. How about that? Yeah. You think so? Because listen, I don't even like to, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I don't even like to mention Jackson Hayes' name with Misi. I'm sorry. I don't want to do it because it feels like it's disrespectful for me to say that about Yeeves and say that about Jackson Hayes. And we knew Jackson Hayes was on that BS down here. Jackson Hayes wasn't in that practice facility working like Herb was. Herb was in there living in that facility. He was in there working out, getting stronger, working on his game. Najee Marshall was doing Najee, Jose, Herb, those guys was in there putting in work. And look how Najee got compensated. He was an undrafted guy with the Pelicans from what was he, from Xavier? Y'all correct me if I'm wrong on that, on Najee. But Najee worked his way up from a two-way player to get a big contract with the Mavericks. I hate the fact that he's still in the Southwest, but it is what it is, right? Congratulations to Najee. That shows it. When it happened with Herb, got his money. That was big. And then you seen Jackson Hayes get shipped out of here. He was a top 10 pick for the Pelicans. He didn't put in the same work that Jose or Najee or Herb Jones did. He didn't. He didn't get stronger. He didn't get smarter. And he didn't put in the work down here to be a top 10 pick. It was a bad selection. And it's very shameful. So I don't try to put Yeeves nowhere close to Jackson Hayes, because Jackson Hayes was a joke down here. He was a joke down here. He was the palm tree that was a parachuter. He was a paratrooper. That boy didn't like a head fake. He didn't like a head fake. Boy, Jackson Hayes, man, the only thing you had to do was just see Jackson across the street and say, yo, Jackson, and just did like that. And that boy jumping all up in the damn tree somewhere. I mean, the dude didn't have, any kind. He wasn't patient. Even the simplest things like being patient on the picks. He wasn't even that. I called him he led the NBA in impatient picks because he didn't even set the damn pick. I was like, dude, come on. How can't you not be patient enough to set the pick correctly? What's going on here? But that's why I said Jackson Hayes, man, to me, man, was a terrible decision. He wasn't serious about basketball in New Orleans. He didn't take it serious like Herb did, like Najee did, like Jose did. He wasn't working like that. Every year we was like, he needs to bulk up. And then he looked like the same damn dude he was from the start to the finish. And he still looked like that right now. The most memorable thing I remember about Jackson Hayes was him fighting police officers. Remember that? That's the most memorable thing I remember about Jackson Hayes from his tenure with New Orleans. And that happened in California. Remember, he was fighting them police, scrambling around 7 feet, scrambling around on the ground with the. Come on, brother. But Yves is a whole nother person. He's serious about, you can see he's serious about basketball. And despite the fact that he's a guy that had very limited exposure to basketball, and you watch how he looked the other night, the dude is serious about it. He's a natural. Like, he got the height. He runs the floor well. He and he doesn't have a conscience. Like some guys get dunked on and they get a little shy. He got the worst of that dunk. He got yammed on in that first game. But you see him still not letting that get to him. I respect that. I like that. And then he's fast. He moves pretty good. So I don't know what the Octopus talking about. Yeah, we won't play small and fast. You don't need to play small and fast, guy. You got a big center who's fast. And don't command the ball that's going to clean up the offensive glass, that's going to shot block and protect the iron, who can run with the guys. You don't need to play small and fast with Yves Missi there. So we got to check the Octopus on that. All right. Yeah. All right. We got Lex, my girl, Lex chiming in. Lex, what's happening? What's popping? How you doing? Good morning to you.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
Basketball talk. What can I say? It's always good to talk basketball. So,
oh hell yeah, it is, because we got the family members say in the poll, we got 70 plus voters on the poll saying the Pelicans are going to improve on their win total in 24-25. So that means more than 49 wins, Lex. That's enough that by fault should give you enough positivity in your New Orleans Pelicans.
Okay.
Okay.
Look, we shall see. Oh, goodness gracious. I mean, it's hard to say, man. I don't know. I gotta at least see a few games to kind of determine that. But yeah, we gonna see, man. We gonna see.
Well, I mean, like I said, Lex, it is several factors we covered earlier in the stream. Like we talked about Jackson Hayes, like where, not Jack. God damn it, I was just talking about Jack. That was my last thing, the paratrooper. But in essence, let's just throw him out. Zion Williamson. The biggest things for the Pelicans having the type of success we see is that we need to see Zion healthy. Amy Atmore, staff having him. We talked about Zion different from the past because he coming in, he's in shape, he's eating right, he's dialed in, he's got the money, he's more mature. We got Amy Atmore here. We got the physical staff. They're doing what they're doing. And then Zion, obviously, on the same path. Then there's the other things to protect him with rotations is Willie Green. So can Willie Green, and I know that's a sticking point that a lot of people like, man, that's what they're more concerned about the Willie Green front than they are about Zion's health. Like, I want to see Zion play a full season, at least one full season. And that is based on those two other options that we talked about, and the fact that Willie Green has to develop a second line rotation that can kind of absorb minutes and kind of make sure these guys get the minutes, but at the same time, they're not abused like we did with Larry Nance and other people last year. We got to make sure we don't overuse these people. Mm-hmm. And that's a big part of it. So I know the talking point is Willie Green. You guys like UNDC don't believe that Willie Green will improve. You believe that he will remain the same. If that is indeed the issue, then the Pelicans will not top out with success. But I think that won't be the case because I think DeJounte Murray drives the Pelicans. I think Willie Green gets on board. I think their philosophies mesh, and I think the Pelicans go. I don't think Willie Green is going to hold his team back. I don't think he will. because of the pressure and because DeJounte Murray is your floor general. What do you say about that?
Well, I mean, he hasn't had pressure for real, but I don't know. Um, it it really helps when you have a floor general
Mm-hmm.
and a good coach. Okay? If
Yeah.
you look at a lot of these other teams, they have a floor general and they have a good coach. The Pelicans have a floor general now and a bad coach. Okay? So when you look at, but for real, when you're able to have a coach that can add on, who can elevate what you already have going on, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? That takes you to a whole nother level. It does.
But is Willie a bad coach, Lex? Like bad? Is he the worst coach in the NBA?
I mean, do you hear any coaches giving him any type of praise?
No, Lex. I'm asking you. I'm asking you. Is
You
Willie
know
Green?
what? You know what? For the talent that he has, probably yes.
What?
For the talent that he has, like the thing is, he has a lot of talent. What's killing Willie? His rotations, uh, timely timeouts, making those adjustments. You know what I'm saying? And you have a talented team. It's different, and plus, it's not like this team is extremely young. You know, you have a nice balance of matured players, guys who know their roles, and then like I said, man, like you look at JV, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we lost a big man for nothing. I don't care about that second draft pick. You know what I'm saying? It's like it took him 3 years and to learn the roster. And even in them 3 years, he still didn't have it down. Now it's going on year 4. I don't feel like he really knows his personnel. And that's the problem that I have. It's like, dude, like you have to position your players to be successful, to get the most out of them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even when you look at summer league, you know, the way that they were using Hawkins. Hawkins, like he got 18 points this past game. But even with everything that he was going through, he wasn't being used correctly out there, which made him look even worse than what he did last season. Positioning players to be successful is very important because that's how you maximize their talent. You have to utilize them correctly. So, I mean, that's important. That's very important. So, I mean, Willie's got a lot that he needs to address. I just want to see it. I don't want to be like, yeah, he's going to improve just because DeJounte Murray's there. And I think that's the thing that everybody's kind of focusing on. We have DeJounte Murray. Well, guess what? Other teams have a floor general and they have a good coach on top of that. You know what I'm saying? That's why we say all the time, a lot of the pressure is going to be on DeJounte, which is really sad because it's like, you heard Willie on the presser. We're just going to put it in his hands and let him do what he does, and we'll have it in Zion's hands and let him do what he does. And I'm like, dude, that sounded so awful. Like you're not trying to help anybody get better as far as outside looking in, because that's the purpose of a coach. You want to help elevate that high IQ player. Because some things, believe it or not, some things you can still see looking outside in. Sometimes you can't see different situations as you're playing the game. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of high stressful situations. But when you have a good coach, it's like, you know what? I see something. I see something that maybe DeJounte doesn't see. You know what I'm saying? But for DeJounte right now, he's got to figure that out by himself.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't dispute what you're saying, Lex. You what you're saying is real deal money. I don't see Willie as the worst guy in the NBA though. I don't. Like I said, I still see I still leave him room for improvement. But like I said, when you have DeJounte Murray there, I mean, and that's the thing is like a good point guard, a good floor general changes things. He changes things for you, not just for the team, but for the coach too. The coach is a off guard. He's a guard. He play guard, so he has some guard concepts. And for him and DeJounte has to be on the same page for the Pelicans to have the type of success we anticipate them having. If they're going to win 50 or more games, last year the Pelicans easily could have won 60 games last year, easily.
Yeah, they could
And
have.
easily last year. So if we bringing back this team, and even though a lot of us like, man, it has a feel of a unfinished feel to it because of the contract situation that's lingering over the top of the team. I don't have anything against BI, but once you make the decision to trade a player, that gets a little funky. It's a little funkiness going on right there because prior to that, the player felt like that they'll give me the money or whatnot, and the relationship was better. But once the team, the player and the team realized that, hey man, it's a weirdness right there. So that's why I was like, okay, once that was known, you gotta trade them because of the weirdness. But if they're gonna keep BI, that does make the Pelicans look pretty interesting when you have DeJounte there, you have Ingram there, you have BI there, you have Williamson, Zion there, and then you have CJ off the bench, you got Trey, all this kind of stuff. So it makes the Pelicans team look different. It makes them feel different. Now, I don't think BI, like I told Foul Foucault, I don't think it makes the Pelicans, I don't think BI makes it a dark cloud over the head of the team. I think he'll play well with this team and then take his $36 million into free agency and see if he can turn it into 50. So I don't see it being easy there.
And that's one thing that concerns me though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I look at this Brandon situation. It's very similar to JV's situation. If you all think back last summer, JV and the Pelicans organization could not come up with the deal, right? They couldn't come up with anything. So they went into the season, let everything ride. Trade deadline came, nothing happened. Once the trade deadline passed, look what happened with JV. He walked for nothing. And I think, obviously, I think Griff was trying to get something big for Brandon, but really because of his value not being high or, his demand. No, it's one of those things. If you're not going to trade him at the trade deadline or from now until this, around the start of the season or pre-camp, you know what I'm saying? Or, camp and all that stuff. It's like it can easily become a similar situation to JV where you just get absolutely nothing, for him. So you go from trying to get a big package, but his value's not there. The demand's not high. And then, when you really should, hey, grab some pieces that maybe you could trade later or, respectable pieces. You may not get what you want, but isn't that way better than getting nothing at all?
Yeah, but that's the thing about the David Griffin. He and that's the thing because I don't believe David Griffin. I'm just going to be honest with you because he contradicted himself in his interviews. Yeah, the last time we heard from him, yeah, right, he contradicted himself. He told us, and we did. He did. He told the people that the trade value for Brandon Ingram was hot. It was high. It was hot at the start of the time, sort of the trade season, everything was popping. Everybody wanted Brandon Ingram. And then next thing you know, it went from that to nothing.
And see, that's weird.
And then he says at the end of the broadcast, we didn't have any interest in wanting to trade him anyway. And I'm like, Well, that would explain why he was never traded. Was
Yeah,
because you wasn't trying to trade him.
yeah.
So
It's like he
that's
messed
what's
up on his words there.
right. He said that. I'm like, fam, did you hear what this guy said? Some asshole said, hey, man, Q, you overanalyzing. Man, shut up. It's not overanalyzing. When you listen to what these people say, I mean, these people not even thinking, man.
Lying is not a good human attribute.
Man, I'm telling you, it's like the dude kind of like, man, did you catch that? He contradicted himself. He contradicted himself in an interview. First, the market was high, and I was asking people, how did it go from red hot to nothing? And then you see people getting moved, like, oh, the CBA,
Yeah,
and tell some bogus nonsense about the CBA making it difficult for people to be traded. And then you see people being traded as we talking. Zaire Williams just got traded to Brooklyn.
yeah, he
People are making
did.
trades right now. So what
Yeah,
is you talking about? Blames it on the CBA. He blamed it on the market. The fact that the market was small, or you can't make mistakes in the market. If you're in the big market, you can make mistakes. Obviously, you can't make mistakes in any market. You will get fired. You have to make good business decisions at that level, or you will get fired. You can't do what you're doing down here. You got an owner that's not paying attention to the team like that. She just leaves people alone. Griffin has a first rate sucker here. He does, because she's not paying attention, and the second guy not paying attention. They're not looking at that. So I mean, but nobody, the media people don't challenge it. They just print it. They don't challenge it. A lot of them, I ain't gonna say some of them do, but a lot of them don't. They just go along, get along gang over here. So I mean, you have to challenge what these people are giving you. What he's saying. He said that the market was hot for Brandon Ingram at the start of the season, and then it went from whatever it was boiling hot, to whatever it is now. Then he says in the interview that we had no interest in trading him, which would say that if they were given, I told y'all in the previous streams that the insiders on the street were saying there were trades. It wasn't trades like you've seen what the Pelicans get for DeJounte Murray. That was Griffin sticking the pistol on him and getting them out of that, reserve players and 2 future first round picks for DeJounte Murray that fits the window of Zion Williamson and your core team right now. That was a pistol. He put the pistol on him. That was strong arm robbery, what David Griffin did to the Hawks. But in terms of what he was doing for BI, they said they had picks out there. Some people were saying that they had trades that would give a starter back and a draft pick. There was some that said a starter back with pick swaps and stuff like that. And the guy didn't pull the trigger on it. He wanted more. He played himself, basically.
yeah,
He
he
played
did.
himself.
And Griff is trying to hold on to those picks. That's basically what he's trying to do, because he's not totally bought into, okay, I want to hold on to something. It's like, dude, you ain't doing nothing with them, no way. It's like, I just feel like they would kind of like, lock in on really building around, because that's what's been the problem anyway. You have to lock in and build around Zion at some point in time. You just waited so long to do that, which I don't really understand it. But one thing that I did want to say as far as with Brandon, because if you think last season, Brandon was really trying to make a splash. He was really trying, like that. That's why he went and played for FIBA. He got picked up by Jordan, went into the season. Borrego talked about how they were going to put the ball in his hands. That was last season was actually a big season for Brandon that basically flopped. And then you
Yeah.
look at how the season ended, because he knew that he was up for an extension.
He played himself though, Lex.
Yeah, he did.
He played because he
Yeah.
bet on himself. Because the money was there before, and he elected to bank on himself this year. It was a gamble 50-50.
Yeah.
He was on the wrong side of it, but go ahead. You're right.
No, but I look at that, and now again, he's going into the season. Pelicans don't want to pay him that. We all know that. You know what I'm saying? Right now, his demand is not very high. So he's going into the season again in the same situation. I got to prove myself. I really got to, make a point to get that 50 million. You know what I'm saying? So that right there is a concern
Yeah.
because if you think about the mentality, that same mentality that he's going in for this season, he went for last season, and look what happened. But not only that, I look at, you know, how is Trey Murphy gonna grow? I feel like by the Pelicans not really making a move, that kind of hurts the progression and growth of Trey Murphy because we know Trey Murphy's not going to get the minutes. They're probably going to be similar to last season, barring any injuries, because we know if somebody gets injured, he steps in. But it's like, when are we gonna really allow him to grow into where he needs to be at? Because and then in that same breath, now you have DeJounte Murray. You still have CJ McCollum. You got Brandon. You still got Zion. You know what I'm saying? It's like, the thing is, and I don't even know if he is going to be a third option. You know what I'm saying? We saw how it was when McCollum, and I mean, really, when the start of the season started, um, they put the ball in his hands. So they treated him like the first option.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then as the season went on, things started to change. But I'm concerned about that. I'm really concerned about that, like, because that mentality is still there. Because he's been saying it. I got something to prove. And Brandon saying he got something to prove is a concern for me, because it's like, dog, who is that? Who is that hurting? You know what I'm saying? Like, who is that taking away from? You know what I'm saying? Like, who's taking a back seat so that you can prove yourself? And it can very well look like the way that it was this past season. It can still look like that. Because if Brandon's trying to do a whole bunch of ISO, y'all see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's not helping the team. And it's definitely not helping him. So that's a concern that I have. Like, when he says, yeah, I got something to prove, I'm like, dude, you had something to prove last season. And then last season, he said that he wasn't fully bought in. So now that the situation is changing, you got DeJounte, dog, your position and your role is going to change again. How are you going to embrace that? How are you going to digest that? You know what I'm saying? Are you going to do that and also knowing you're trying to get that 50 mil? You see what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
almost
That's a
it's
good point, Lex.
it's the oxymoron, like golly, man. I don't know what that means, but it is a concern. It's a huge concern.
Yeah, that's a great point because that's why it's a ultra imperative that we let DeJounte floor general because as a floor general, he'll feed the hot hand. And you see players with the hot hand, other players got to respect it. The guy got it going. You got to feed the beast. That's how it goes. So, like if it was any of this other stuff, like with BI having the ball in his hand to prove, because like I said, the players have egos. And like with Brandon Ingram, I said this before, Brandon Ingram spent a lot of time as option one for the Pelicans because Zion Williamson wasn't there. But BI was there. So when he talk about money and what he feels he's valued, he talking about all of the work that he put in since he's been here. That's what he's talking, not just last year and how he looked last year. He's talking about it all. So, I
And
mean,
I tell DC, I'm like, look, man, the way this league works, you're as good as your last hit. Like, they're not looking like 2 years ago how you were. Take Klay Thompson. You know what I'm saying? Klay Thompson, a champion, was doing well a few years before he got injured. He got injured, was out, came back. He wasn't the same. So
yeah,
do you think they're going to pay him? Now, they did pay him. You know what
they
I'm
pay.
saying? They did. And then when it came up for extension, it's like, dog, your numbers are down. Your performance is down.
Mm-hmm.
You're not where you were years ago. They can't pay. And this dude is a champion. He's
Mm-hmm.
part of the core. So the thing is like, are you paying him according to what he was 3 years ago? You can't do that. You keep getting older.
Mm-hmm.
You keep getting older. So the thing is like, dude, we're going to assess what you did last season. Like, we're going to have you come off the bench for Podziemski. He didn't like that. You know, so when you look at it from that point, and that's why I always say that, what have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? You know, literally, you're as good as your last hit. How did you perform on last season? Dude, you didn't perform great. I can't pay you that money, man. I mean, you're not that guy you were 3 years ago. And that's how they look at things going forward, because that the season before allows teams to look at how the direction that they need to go in going into next season. And so, they had to do that. And I mean, I understand, Clay's standpoint on it. It's like, man, I've been here, I produce, but hey man, it's not like they did not pay him. You know what I'm saying? They gave him an extension while he was injured. They gave him a lot of money. He wasn't even playing. And they did that based off of, hey, you're a champion. You've been here. We drafted you. We're trying to take care of you. They showed that. But it's like, dude, you can't expect us to keep doing this. I mean, it is a business. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I know you, look, I know you're looking for a retirement plan, but dude, I mean, you still have to perform at a certain level to get that money. So
subscribe now and stay up to date for all things new